And books for me have always been a way to take me to that other place. This was my first big person's book, and I got it when I was 9 years old. Well, I grew up in a place where I was unintentionally avoided, ignored maybe as a child. I was always hoping my mother would come home. My mother was sick a lot. She was in hospitals and not well, and so we were shuffled to various relatives, and maybe it was just a few times, but to me it seemed like a number of times when I would come home and the house would be empty because they had forgotten to send me somewhere. The doctors had decided that I wasn't going to live more than a few days. They sent me home. I always felt that, I was the cause of my mother being sick. And I had started it all from the get-go, from the very beginning, from the day I was born. But after that time is when my mother really started to become ill, and with different things and different maladies. And I guess growing up from then on, I always felt as if, my being born is what triggered my mother's illnesses. There was a certain day when she came and she said that she was going to take me, and that her and I were going to spend the day together. And so she took me to a bookstore, which was our favorite place, and she told me I could pick out whatever book I wanted, and I picked this book out. And I was a very, very scrawny little kid, so for me this was like a huge book, and I had to carry it with two hands. So it was very, very big. I remember I thought it was going to burst. It was like the best thing that could ever happen to me was spending that day with my mom and having this incredible, incredible present. I swear I could smell my mother and smell all the times in my childhood when she was like standing at the kitchen window and cooking, and we were laughing about things, and it just all came back. And I realized that every time I opened this book and read a poem that her and I read together and laughed about like the bells, that I could always have that laughter, and that she's always there with me. We would see how many times she could say the bells, 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 bells without breaking down, because of the words, the oversprinkle and the tintinnabulation. So you can imagine what a 9-year-old felt like reading those words for the first time. It was pretty much a giggle fest. And then of course when I got to the second stanza about the wedding bells, the golden bells, what a world of happiness their harmony foretells. That's pretty hilarious, because my mother would always tell us never to get married. So for her it was like, oh, we get to this, and she'd be like, ah, the wedding bells, forget the wedding bells. We would stand there at the kitchen sink and look out the kitchen window, and we'd talk. Some of our best talks were at the window. And anytime anyone went by with those cans they used to tie onto the back of cars when people just got married, and the honking of the horns, she would have us grab pots and pans and run out on the on the lawn and chase the cars, yelling, "Sucker!" Yeah, that was my mother. Don't you kids ever let this happen to you. Like, what, is she crazy? She just felt like there was a whole world out there that we needed to go out and embrace and live. And she didn't want us to ever stop. I've not stopped. I've not stopped. I've slowed down a few times, slacked off, but not for too long. So the Big Red Book of Poetry is a lot more than a book to me. I'll never, have never, and will never move the bookmarks that my mother and I put there on that day. It's not so much the physical reading that I keep it next to me. It's for the connection. This book for me was a connecting to my mother at a time when I'd been separated from her for what I thought was like forever as a kid, and at a point when I thought I would never see her again. She had previously been very ill, and so for me it was not only a gift from her and a really wonderful day spent with her, But her giving of this book to me signaled an act of forgiveness. I felt that she was forgiving me for being born. Yeah, I think I'd be spinning into outer space somewhere in another galaxy if I did.